A man who values himself doesn't beg to be valued by others. When a woman walks away from most men, she expects a reaction, desperation, pleading, an attempt to win her back. But a Sigma male, he does the opposite. He lets her go. No drama, no persuasion, just silence. And that silence? It's louder than any words could ever be. A Sigma male is built differently. He doesn't seek approval, doesn't need validation, and refuses to let emotions control him. When someone betrays or underestimates him, he doesn't waste time convincing them of his worth. He already knows it. And that's exactly why women always come back after hurting him, because they realize too late that he was never just another man. But here's what you need to understand. Their return isn't a compliment, it's a confession. A confession that they misjudged you, that they expected you to crumble, that they never truly understood what they had until they lost it. This is the power of a Sigma male, not in chasing, not in convincing, but in his ability to move forward without hesitation. And when you master that, you'll never have to ask why people come back. You'll only have to decide whether they're still worth your time. Number one, they thought you'd chase, but you never did. She expected a reaction, maybe tears, maybe anger, maybe a desperate attempt to talk things through, because that's what most men do when they're hurt. They plead, they over-explain, they try to salvage what's already broken. But you did something completely unexpected. You walked away. No arguments, no emotional outbursts, no long paragraphs explaining your worth, just silence. A quiet, unwavering detachment that she never saw coming. And that messed with her mind more than anything else could have. See, people expect closure to be a battle. They expect to be fought for, reassured, or at least met with some resistance. But when you withdrew without a single word, you left her with something far worse. A void. That void made her question everything. Did I even matter to him? Was I just another option? Why isn't he trying to fix this? That silence wasn't just absence, it was power. Because instead of chasing, you became the one who got away. And that's a role she wasn't prepared for. At first, she might have shrugged it off, thinking you'd eventually reach out. But days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and still, nothing, no texts, no cryptic posts, no subtle attempts to reconnect, just a man who kept living as if she never existed. And that's when it started to eat away at her. Because deep down she realized she wasn't as unforgettable as she thought. She wasn't as irreplaceable as she assumed. And worst of all, she now wanted your validation more than you ever wanted hers. By the time she figures this out, it's too late. Because Sigma males don't chase, they don't play games, they don't beg to be seen, they just disappear, leaving behind only a lingering question she'll never get the answer to. Number two, the same traits she left you for are now the ones she misses. It's ironic, isn't it? The very things that made her walk away are now the things pulling her back in. Maybe she said you were too independent, that you didn't need her enough. Maybe she felt like you were too distant, too emotionally reserved, too hard to read. She wanted something more excitement, more validation, more emotional highs, so she left. And at first, she thought she made the right decision. She sought out men who were more expressive, more eager, more willing to drop everything for her attention. Men who wore their emotions on their sleeves and constantly reassured her. But then, reality hit. She realized that all that more she thought she wanted came with less of what she actually needed, less stability, less strength, less authenticity. She found men who gave her immediate emotional gratification but lacked depth. Men who were available 24/7, but only because they had nothing else going for them. Men who seemed exciting at first, but eventually revealed themselves to be insecure, inconsistent, or emotionally chaotic. And suddenly she started comparing. She remembered the way you carried yourself, not desperate for attention, but quietly self-assured. She remembered how your independence wasn't neglect, but confidence. How your emotional control wasn't coldness, but strength. How your depth wasn't a burden, but something rare and valuable. And now, the things that once frustrated her about you are the things she craves the most. Because now she understands men like you don't come around often, and walking away from you wasn't just losing a relationship, it was losing something irreplaceable. That's why she comes back. Not because you changed, but because she did. She finally sees what she was too blind to appreciate before. But by the time she realizes it, the Sigma male is already gone, because he was never waiting for her to understand his worth. He always knew it. Number three, She wants to test if she still has power over you. Some women don't come back because they miss you. They don't return because they suddenly appreciate your worth. No, sometimes they come back for one reason only, to see if they still can. It's not about love, it's about control. When she walked away, she assumed she still had you in her grip, that if she ever changed her mind, she could pick up where she left off. That's why she disappeared so easily. She thought you'd always be an option, but when you didn't chase, when you didn't beg, when you moved forward without hesitation, that was unexpected. Now doubt starts creeping in. Did I ever have real power over him? And that's when she returns, not to rebuild what was lost, but to test the waters, to see if she can still trigger a reaction, stir up emotions, or slip back into your life like nothing happened. Because if she can, it means she never really lost you. But if she can't, if you don't entertain her games, if you treat her like just another chapter that's already closed, that's when she feels the real loss. See, power isn't proven when someone leaves, it's proven when they try to come back. If you let her in even slightly, she'll know she still has a grip on you. She'll play along for a while, but deep down she's already won. But if you don't react, if you don't give her the validation she came for, she'll be forced to face a truth she never expected. She never had control in the first place. And that's when regret hits. That's when she realizes she wasn't as special as she thought. Because while she was out playing games, you were outgrowing her. By the time she comes back, the version of you she thought she could reclaim no longer exists. Number 4, she expected you to fall apart, but you leveled up. She thought walking away would break you, that you'd spiral, drown in regret, maybe even beg for another chance. She pictured you struggling, missing her, regretting everything, proving just how much power she had over you. But instead you disappeared. No angry texts, no bitter social media posts, no reckless behavior, just silence. And then, slowly but surely, undeniable progress. That's what shakes her. At first, she convinces herself you're faking it, putting on a front to make her jealous. But time passes and it becomes clear this isn't an act. You've actually leveled up. Your mind is sharper, your confidence unshaken, your life better than ever. You didn't just move on, you evolved. And that realization stings. Because here's the truth, most people expect to be the best thing that ever happened to you. They want to believe that losing them will send you into a downward spiral, that without them you'll always feel like something is missing. But when a Sigma male moves on, he doesn't just recover, he transforms. She left thinking you'd break. Instead, she watches you thrive. Your absence from her life is filled with regret, but your absence from her mind, that's what eats at her. Because now she's the one wondering, did I make a mistake? And the brutal truth, yes, she did. But by the time she realizes it, it's already too late. Because you've stepped into a version of yourself that doesn't look back. You don't seek closure, you don't reopen old doors, and you don't entertain what you've already outgrown. She expected you to fall apart. Instead, she had to sit back and watch as you became the kind of man she always wanted, only now, he no longer wants her. Number 5, your absence created a power shift. She thought walking away would put her in control, that you'd react like most men, frustrated, desperate, trying to win her back. She expected the usual aftermath, emotional texts, late-night calls, maybe even a grand gesture to prove how much you needed her. That's what she's used to, that's what she was prepared for. But instead, nothing. Silence, not even a ripple in your world. And that's when things start to shift. At first, she convinces herself you're just playing a game, that you're acting unbothered to make her come back. But as time passes and you remain unshaken, an unsettling realization creeps in. Maybe he actually doesn't care. That thought is dangerous, because the moment she starts questioning her own significance in your life, she loses the upper hand. She expected to leave and feel powerful, but now she feels uncertain. Instead of you missing her, she finds herself missing you. Instead of you chasing, she's left wondering if she made the wrong choice. This is the power shift. When someone walks away, they expect to be the one in control. They assume they're the prize, that their absence will hurt you more than it hurts them. But when you don't play into that expectation, when you don't chase, don't beg, don't even seem affected, it forces them to rethink everything. And this is why she comes back. Not always because of love, Not always because of regret, but because she needs to reclaim the power she lost when you refused to break. She comes back to see if she still has influence over you, to test if you were really as unaffected as you seemed, to restore her sense of control. But by then it's too late, because a Sigma male doesn't reopen doors he already closed. Number 6, she didn't expect you to be this hard to replace. Some women leave thinking the grass is greener on the other side, that there's always someone better waiting, more exciting, more emotionally available, more whatever. At first, she's confident in her decision. She assumes you'll be just another guy she can move on from. But then, reality hits. She starts meeting new men, men who seem promising at first, but quickly reveal their flaws. Some lack depth, only capable of surface-level conversations. Others are too needy, constantly seeking validation, and then there are the ones who crumble under pressure, unable to handle life's challenges with the same quiet strength you did. And slowly, she starts to compare, because a Sigma male is a rare breed. You never smothered her, yet she always felt your presence. You never needed her, but she wanted to be around you. You had a mind of your own, a world she wanted access to, but never full control over. That's what made you different. That's what made you irreplaceable. And now? She realizes just how rare that is. The problem is she figured this out too late. When she left, she thought you'd be easy to move on from. But now she sees finding another man with your level of self-discipline, intelligence, and emotional control isn't just difficult, it's damn near impossible. That's when the regret kicks in. That's when she starts to wonder if she made a mistake, and that's when she comes back, hoping to slip back into your life like nothing happened. But by then, everything has changed. Because while she was out searching for better, you were busy becoming even greater. And by the time she realizes your worth, she's just another person learning the hard way. Once a Sigma male moves on, he never looks back. Number 7, her own life didn't improve like she thought it would. Some women leave because they think they're upgrading. Maybe she was chasing excitement. Maybe she wanted more attention. Maybe she just assumed she'd be happier somewhere else. At first, she's confident in her decision. She convinces herself she made the right move. She expects new thrills, better connections, and a future that's more fulfilling than the one she left behind. But then, reality sets in. That so-called excitement, it fades fast. The attention she craved. It comes from men who don't actually see her the way you did. And that happiness she thought she'd find, it turns out to be an illusion, because no external change can fix internal emptiness. That's when she starts looking back, because with you, there was substance, there was depth, there was a steady, unshakable energy she didn't fully appreciate at the time. But now that she's in spaces where men lack your discipline, your control, and your quiet strength, she realizes what she left behind wasn't just rare, it was irreplaceable. Suddenly, your absence feels heavier. She scrolls through social media, wondering how you're doing, expecting to see signs of struggle. But instead, she sees you thriving, leveling up, completely unfazed. And that's when the regret hits. Not only did her new life not improve, but yours did, without her. And the hardest pill to swallow? The happiness she was chasing might have been right in front of her all along, but she was too blind to see it, so she comes back. Not always because she loves you, but because she misses the stability you provided. Because what she left for turned out to be hollow. But the truth is, a Sigma male doesn't wait for people to realize his worth. By the time she figures out what she lost, he's already moved on to bigger things. And number 8, she finally understands that losing a Sigma male is permanent. At first, she thought you'd always be there. She assumed that even if she left, she could always come back. That maybe you'd still be waiting, still have a soft spot for her, still entertain the idea of reconciliation. After all, most men do. They leave the door open, even after being hurt. But Sigma males, different story. When a Sigma male detaches, he really detaches. There are no dramatic goodbyes, no emotional theatrics, just a quiet, decisive exit that leaves no room for negotiation. She expected temporary distance, not permanent absence, and that's where she miscalculated. At first, she might have felt relief, excitement, or even confidence in her decision. But as time passes, something shifts. She realizes you're really gone. No late-night check-ins, no passive-aggressive posts, no signs of lingering attachment, and that's when it starts to hurt. Because the reality of losing a Sigma male isn't just about losing a person, it's about losing an entire experience. The security, the depth, the unwavering presence of a man who doesn't need anyone but chooses carefully who he lets in. And now? She's no longer one of them. She sees you thriving, evolving, living as if she never existed. And the brutal truth sets in. When a Sigma male is done, he's done. There are no second chances, no rewrites, no way back in. That finality is what breaks her, not because she didn't think you'd move on, but because she never imagined you'd move on without looking back. And by the time she truly understands what she lost, it's far too late. Because a Sigma male doesn't pause his life for regret. He simply keeps moving forward, leaving behind those who couldn't see his worth the first time while our first move. Number 9, she wants to see if you're still a challenge. For some women, it's never about love, it's about control. The moment she walked away, she expected something predictable, anger, desperation, a plea for her to come back. But when she got nothing, no chase, no reaction, no signs of suffering, that silence messed with her ego more than any words ever could. See, Sigma males are never easy to figure out. From the start, you weren't like other men. There were no emotional outbursts, no constant need for validation, no predictable moves. You were a challenge. And for some women, that challenge was intoxicating. But now that you've moved on, that challenge feels unfinished. She doesn't come back because she suddenly realized your worth. She doesn't return because she regrets hurting you. No, she comes back because she hates the idea that she never truly had power over you. So she tests the waters. A random message, a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" Maybe even a deeper confession about how she misses you. But is it real? Probably not. What she really wants to see is if she still matters to you. If you respond with interest, she wins. She confirms that despite everything, she can still provoke a reaction, that she still holds space in your mind, that in some way you're still hers. But if you don't, if you remain as indifferent as ever, as untouchable as you always were, that's when it hits her. She never really had you, and that's the real reason she can't let go. Not because she loves you, not because she wants to fix things, but because she realizes she never actually beat you in the mental chess game she thought she was playing. But the truth? A Sigma male was never playing games to begin with. That's why she lost before she even made her first move. Number 10, she sees how other women now want you. When most men get hurt, they collapse. They drown in self-pity, spiral into bad decisions, or waste time chasing someone who's already gone. But a Sigma male, he does the opposite. He turns his pain into fuel. He levels up, physically, mentally, emotionally. And when that happens, something fascinating unfolds. Other women start to notice. It's not just about looks, it's the way you carry yourself. The quiet confidence, the unshakable presence, the fact that you never looked back. That energy is magnetic, and soon, without trying, you attract the kind of attention most men beg for. But here's where it gets interesting. The woman who left you, the one who thought you'd crumble, suddenly starts to feel something she never expected, territorial. She sees the shift, notices how other women now see value in you, and it triggers something primal inside her. Because in her mind, you were supposed to be an option, not a prize. She never thought she'd lose you completely. She assumed you'd be stuck, waiting, hoping. But now, you've become something she wants again, not necessarily out of love, but because she hates the idea of another woman taking what she once had. That's why she comes back. Not because she's had some deep realization about your worth, but because competition has exposed her own insecurity. The moment she sees other women admiring you, flirting with you, wanting a chance with you, her possessiveness kicks in. She doesn't want you until she sees that someone else does. But here's where Sigma males have the final advantage. By the time she realizes what she lost, you've already outgrown her. Because you weren't just healing, you were evolving. And when she comes back, looking to reclaim what she let go, she'll find that you're no longer in the same place. She left thinking you'd suffer. Instead, you became untouchable. Number 11, she mistook your calmness for lack of emotion. Most men wear their emotions on their sleeves, anger, sadness, desperation, all laid bare for the world to see. But a Sigma male, he operates on a different level. He doesn't plead, doesn't lash out, doesn't put on a show. He simply steps back, processes, and moves accordingly. And because of that, she made a mistake. She assumed your calmness meant you didn't care. At first, she believed you were just emotionally detached, that your lack of visible reaction meant she never really mattered to you. But over time, that assumption starts to unravel. She sees how other men handle heartbreak, Reckless rebounds, bitter rants, endless attempts to get her attention, and she realizes you did none of it. No desperation, no need to prove anything. And that's when it clicks. You weren't emotionless. You were just in control. Most people act on impulse. When they're hurt, they react without thinking, but you didn't let emotions dictate your actions. You felt everything, but you didn't let it consume you. That level of restraint, that kind of discipline, it's something she's rarely seen before. And once she recognizes it, she understands why you stood out in the first place. That's when the regret sets in, because if a man like you, calm, composed, self-sufficient, decided to walk away without a fight, it only means one thing. She lost someone irreplaceable. And that's a reality she now has to live with. This is what separates Sigma males from the rest. Not an absence of emotion, but complete mastery over it. And in a world where most people are slaves to their feelings, that level of control doesn't just make you different, it makes you unforgettable. Conclusion, final thoughts, why women always come back, but why it doesn't matter. A Sigma male isn't just another man, he's a force, a man who refuses to be controlled by emotions, validation, or manipulation. And that's exactly why they come back. Not because they've changed, not because they suddenly respect you, but because they realize, too late, that your absence is more powerful than your presence ever was. But here's the truth, and you need to hear it. Their return doesn't mean you should let them back in. Most of the time, they come back for the wrong reasons. They want to see if they still have power over you. They want comfort after realizing the world outside of you isn't as kind. They want to undo the regret they created, but what they don't want, to truly appreciate you the way you deserve. And that's why you don't entertain their return, not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, but because you've outgrown them. A Sigma male doesn't circle back to the past. He learns from it, grows beyond it, and moves forward. So when she comes back knocking, looking for the man she took for granted, she won't find him. Because the man she left no longer exists. You didn't just survive the pain, you leveled up. You became stronger, wiser, and even more untouchable. And that's the real lesson here. A Sigma male doesn't chase people, he attracts them. But once lost, he is never truly regained. So let them come back, let them wonder, let them regret. Just make sure you're too far ahead for them to ever reach you again.